can we talk for a second? Should Dirk Koetter be fired as the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? In my opinion, maybe. I'd be leaning more towards yes. Here's why. You see, I want to go ahead and go down a list with you guys, okay? Just a little list for coaches that were successful in their first years with their teams, okay? This list might surprise you, but oh well. Rex Ryan, in the 2009-2008 season, I believe, he made it to the AFC Championship game his first year. George Seifert went to a Super Bowl with, I believe, the San Francisco 49ers. Jim Caldwell went to a Super Bowl. Jim Harbaugh went to an NFC Championship game. Jim Mora went to an NFC Championship game. Steve Mariucci went to an NFC Championship game. Sean Payton went to an NFC Championship game after a 13-loss season. John Harbaugh went to an AFC Championship game. Mike Tomlin went to the playoffs. These are all examples of coaches who did successful in their first years. Now, for more than half of them, probably taking out only about 3 or 4 of those examples, you can say, well, they inherited that team. They inherited a team that was vastly good, and they inherited a team that was bound to do good. They were almost destined to do good, and that's fine. That's fine. I want to show you guys examples now of the current NFL and teams that are doing good, head coaches that are doing good. Examples being Sean McDermott in his first year, Sean McVay in his first year, Adam Gase last year in his first year, Doug Peterson last year and this year to a certain degree, well, and this year to a major degree, Jack Del Rio last year, Todd Bowles both years. For all these instances, these are head coaches who have had certain themes with their coaching that have been very evident. And these themes are progress, exceeding expectations, showing that the team is trending more in a positive way into a positive situation, as well as consistently getting better. And you can even say, let's talk about consistency for a second. Consistency can go 3 ways. Either you're going to consistently be bad, you're going to consistently be good, you're going to consistently be right in the middle. Teams that are consistently good, Pittsburgh Steelers, New England Patriots, among other teams. Teams that are consistently bad, Cleveland Browns, among other teams. And there are examples of teams consistently being in the middle, with the Dallas Cowboys, who went 8-8 for the past, who went 8-8 for 4 years, probably straight. So there are examples of all 3. Inconsistency is what kills teams and what makes owners want to fire head coaches. If I was an owner and my team had went 9-7 the first year and now we're on a trajectory of doing vastly worse, I wouldn't trust the coaching staff to lead that team. The team, especially if the team looks the exact same minus a couple of players, you would figure, well, what the heck? Why is our record so much worse? We have the same players. You know, what's going on? Our team should be doing either just the same level or better. That's consistency. If you're going 9-7 last year, you should either be going 9-7 this year or better, or you're inconsistent at that point. That's just a fact, and I get it. 2 years isn't enough of a sample size. One of the arguments that Bucs fans have for keeping Dirk Koetter around is to let him build a team. First off, Dirk Koetter doesn't build the team. Dirk Koetter only coaches the team. Jason Light builds the team through drafting and signing free agents. That's a whole nother bag of worms that I'll probably make a video on later. How he's built the team, which, to be honest, I made a whole video about Jason Light. I think he's built the team very well. On paper, this team should win. Let me go ahead and give you a rundown of people on paper who were supposed to elevate this team this year with good coaching. Okay, just go ahead and follow me. So, Jameis Winston, Doug Martin, Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard, Adam Humphries, Chris Godwin, Jaquiz Rodgers on offense. The offensive line, Ali Marpet, and DeMar Dodson, the other 3. The offensive line was a question mark. On defense, Levante David, Quan Alexander, Gerald McCoy, Chris Baker, Clinton McDonald, Brent Grimes, Vernon Hargraves III, TJ Ward, Keith Tandy, Justin Evans, Kendall Beckwith, Robert Ayers, Noah Spence, William Golston. These were all names that Bucks players thought were going to be good, who everybody expected to be good. Even national media expected the Bucks to be a 10-win team, make the playoffs soundly make the playoffs. Everybody expected the Buccaneers to do that. Right now, Dirk's 11-12 in his coaching career. Last year he went 9-7. Right now he's 2-6. Last year the Bucks started by week 10. Their record was 3-5, so a game worse than they are right now. Just a game worse. They were 3-5 last year. Okay, right now the Bucks are 2-6. Last year the Bucks won 6 out of their 8. They won 6 out of their last 8 games to finish with a 9-7 record. This year, the best we can do right now is if we won our next 8 games, we will be 10-6. If we win, if we win 7 games, we'll be 9-7. And if we win, if we won 6 out of our next 8, exactly like we did last year, which is very highly unlikely, the Bucks will be 8-8. That's consistently mediocre. I don't know. I mean, hey, John Gruden was fired with a 9-7 record in his last year. He went 9-7 2 years. His last 2 years, I believe, and he was fired for it. Why? Because expectations were high. Expectations are really key here. The expectations of the owners, the expectations of the fan base. It's important. It's important. And expectations are going to play a key part in whether or not Dirk Koetter is going to keep his job or not. Regardless of what you think of give him more time to build a team, which again, that's kind of a false point in my opinion, because he can coach the players, sure, but he doesn't sign the players. He does have a certain amount of input, but bottom line is Jason Light's decision. That's the bottom line. And let's talk about Dirk Koetter's team, his coaching abilities and his building skills. One of the main reasons that Dirk Koetter was hired on to that was promoted. One of the main reasons that he was promoted was to help elevate Jameis Winston's play. So far, Jameis Winston has been kept in 4 games where he was obviously injured with his shoulder. He re-aggravated his injury and possibly injured it more. And his deep ball accuracy has been very bad this season. He's one of the best quarterbacks in moving out of the pocket, sure, but if you can't hit the deep ball, I don't know what to tell you. That's not good. That was one of the main things that Dirk was supposed to help in, was the development of Jameis Winston. And now it appears that Jameis Winston has been consistently average at best. He's been consistently average. So if one of the main reasons of hiring a head coach is to develop your quarterback, and your quarterback has obviously not been developing the way he was expected to, what does that say about your head coach? Looking at the rest of the team, if this team had a lot of expectations, as I just stated earlier, this team was expected to be a playoff team soundly. It was expected that they were possibly even going to win the division. They had a good defense. They had a good offense with a good offensive mind, right? The expectations have been shattered in the bad way. The Bucks probably should be at least, and this is me being, pessimistic here, they should at least be 4-4. They should at least be 4-4, and they're not. They're not 4-4. They're 2-6. Last year, I get it, they were 3-5, and they came back and won 6 of their next 8. You shouldn't have to come back, though. And if you're a true playoff team, you shouldn't have to be like, oh, well, we gotta go out here, we gotta grind out every game. That sounds like teams that are just desperate to get wins, Teams that are true playoff contenders, they're comfortable throughout the season. Not exactly comfortable, but they're in good positions to make the playoffs. Maybe they're 5-3, or maybe they're 4-4 even. Even that's pushing it. Maybe they're 6-2 or something. And I get it. The Bucks had one of the harder schedules this year. But if you're a true playoff team, then you can beat other playoff teams. And that was the expectation, and that was crushed. The expectation was crushed. That's. Offensive regression is a thing with Dirk, and that was one of the main reasons we kept him, was to run this offense. And it's clear that there's regression there. I'm sorry, but that's a fact. There's clear regression there. So consistency is a thing. Dirk Koetter right now has a worse record than all the current NFL coaches I mentioned in Sean McDermott, Sean McVay, Adam Gase, Doug Peterson, Jack Del Rio, and Todd Bowles. All of these guys are consistently either getting better or they're consistently staying at the same place. Dirk Koetter is consistently doing bad at the beginning of the season, then he has to just desperately have his team just come out with desperation wins at the second half of the season. You shouldn't have that. If you're consistently starting off bad in your seasons, then you're going to be doomed to never make the playoffs. If you don't start off good, then you're not what? Like, you shouldn't have to. You need to start off good. You need to. Otherwise, you're not going to make the playoffs. You're just not going to. That's a fact. So Dirk, again, his first 2 years now, he's started off poor. 3-5 last year, 2-6 this year. He's even a little bit worse. It's just a tiny bit. One win, but still, it's a little bit worse. This offense that he was touted to be, improving, it appears to have regressed. Even Jameis Winston, to a little bit, has appeared to either at least stay average or maybe a little bit worse in terms of the accuracy department. So, in terms of letting him build the team's already built. The team is already built. I don't know what to tell you. The team's already built. What more do you want the guy to do? I mean, unless Jason Light literally goes out there and signs and drafts nothing but offensive linemen, more cornerbacks, more safeties, and defensive linemen, then I don't know what to tell you, because out of all the players I just mentioned on that list, on defense and on offense, this is a team that can win, and it can win now. It just depends on the leadership. And right now, I think I feel that the leadership is poor. This team is built for Dirk. This team's been built. It really just boils down to leadership at that point. And he's been dropping the ball, in my opinion. He admits that. The coaching staff in a whole is dropping the ball, and I get it. It's not all Dirk's fault. Defensive coordinator Mike Smith is partially to blame, but Dirk Koetter calls the plays on offense. That if there's poor offensive play, it's up to him and it's up to the players, obviously. But Dirk coaches the players. So, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, even if there is poor offensive play, teams find ways to win. Look at the Jaguars. Their team doesn't have a good offense. They're 5-3. Steelers' offense hasn't been phenomenal. They're 6-2. So there's even ways to get around that. The coaching staff as a whole has just been failing this team. And players are starting to check out, and they're starting to creep up that losing culture again. It's very... If there's one thing that the Bucs have been consistent in, it's this, at least besides last year, even to a certain degree, it was last year. It's this kind of losing culture. All the head coaches we've had since Gruden have had this losing culture, and I'm not saying bring back John Gruden. I'm not saying that, but I mean, we gave Raheem Morris 3 years, he didn't do good. Gave Greg Schiano 2 years, didn't do good. Gave Lovie Smith 2 years, did not do good. And Dirk Koetter, he'll have 2 years, but I mean, at best, Dirk will have 1 more year. The only reason I feel Raheem Morris had 1 more year is because he at least gave them a 10-6 record, and I think took them to the playoffs. I think that's the only reason why Raheem Morris had another year, but that's not the point right now. We're talking about Dirk. So the main theme I can wrap up for this is expectations, and expectations were high for the Buccaneers this year, and were high for Dirk Koetter, and were high for this team, and Dirk's let him down. I get it. Part of it is the players, but who leads the players? The coaches. The players aren't playing good. Well, maybe they're not coached up good enough. I don't know. Maybe they don't have enough discipline. I don't know. If everybody agreed at the beginning of the season that this team was a playoff team, this team had the players to be a playoff team, and it's the ball's been dropped. So I don't really know what else to say besides that. There are examples of coaches who have teams that are maybe even worse, who looked worse on paper than the Buccaneers did this year, and they're doing better. Even the Jets. The Jets are doing better than the Buccaneers, and everybody thought the Jets were going to go 0-16 this year. That just goes to show that there's true leadership there, and there's true unity there, and they're playing as a team. What does that tell you, Raiders, I mean, they're not doing good, but they're doing better than the Bucks by a couple of games. The Eagles are 8-1, and it's Doug Peterson's second year. Adam Gase, even he lost his starting quarterback, and he's pulling it together with Jay freaking Cutler. You know, Sean McVay. You know, I just named off 6 coaches who are either in their first or second years like Dirk Koetter, who are in their first 2 years like Dirk Koetter, and they're performing leaps and bounds better than his team right now. And even you can say, oh well, Jameis was injured. Well, then why would you play your injured quarterback for 4 games? Like, that shows weak leadership too. It's like, why would you put your franchise quarterback in peril? What if he tears his rotator cuff and has permanent damage to his shoulder? That's bad leadership. You know, I don't think Dirk is proving right now at this time. I don't think Dirk is proving to be a good leader. I just don't. It shows, you know, it shows with consistency. Let him build the team. The team's already built. On paper, this team is one of the better teams that the Bucs have seen in years. If you compare it to Lovie Smith's teams, if you compare it to Raheem Morris's teams, if you compare it to Greg Schiano's teams, this team is better. It's just a fact. This team is better. So consistency, yeah, there is consistency there. The Bucs have been consistently bad to start off the first half of the season. You shouldn't do that if you're a playoff team, right? If the expectation was playoff team, then the Bucs should at least be 4-4. At least that's the worst scenario for a playoff team right now. And I get it. Oh, people are saying, oh well, the Bucs can win 8 straight and make the playoffs. You shouldn't have to. If your team's as good as it should be, then you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to be playing from behind all the time. You shouldn't have 4 blow-off losses in a row, regardless of what the score says they were blow-off losses. You shouldn't have that if your team's actually good. Offensive regression is there, I think, and give him more time. I don't know what to tell you. He's been there for 4 years, technically, 2 as an offensive coordinator and 2 as a head coach right now, 1.5 as a head coach. And those 2, he was supposed to make this offense better, and he was given pieces to make this offense better, and it's not better. So it's really not good. This is supposed to be a top 5 offense, and it's not. So, you know, I mean, for me, all these arguments are just kind of not applicable to this situation, because Dirk, he's had a little bit of time, he's had a year and a half, and there's examples of guys who have had less time than him, and they're doing great. I feel it all depends on the talent that you have on paper. You know, these teams had less talent on paper, and they're doing better. Consistency, I mean, he keeps on starting off the first half of the season bad. I'm sure the owners know that. Expectations are a thing. He's not meeting expectations at all. His team's already built for him. Offensive regression is still a thing, and give him more time. I really don't. I don't think he deserves more time. He hasn't proven it. He had a 9-7 record year. He had a 9-7 record last year, and I get that. That's one of the better records that the Bucs have had in most years. But the second half of the season, the Bucs literally had to absolutely play out of their minds. You know, they had to play like every game their lives depended on it to get to that 9-7 record. You know, you shouldn't have to do that. So I don't know. I don't think he deserves more time. He's consistently started bad his first 2 seasons. The players appear to have checked out due to a lack of leadership. His hires haven't his hiring and his coaching decisions haven't proven to be the best decisions. So I really feel that Dirk Koetter, if this trend continues, he shouldn't stay with the team, and I don't even think he should stay with the team even if they make it to a 9-7 record this year, or an 8-8 record, or even 10-6. I highly doubt they're going to be 10-6. I highly doubt that. But even so, I would still he would probably get another year at that point if they went 10-6, which I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to finish 7-9, maybe at the best, or 6-10. But I don't think that they should keep Dirk Koetter. If they lose to the Jets. If they lose to the Jets next week, Dirk might be fired. If it's a lopsided loss, I could see Dirk being fired. If it's a lopsided loss, that's a fact. Because then they'll be 2-7, and the best they'll be able to do is 9-7. So really, this Jets game is an important game for Dirk Koetter's job. Fact. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't think Dirk Koetter's going to stay with this team, nor does he deserve to right now. He hasn't proven that he's a strong enough leader. He hasn't proven that he can take a team that is good on paper and, actually coach it up to be reaching its expectations. That's just how I feel about it. So let me know what you guys think about Dirk Koetter down in the comments section below. I know a lot of people do want to call for his firing, but I know equally a lot of people want to call for his retainment and saying giving him more time. But hopefully I've proven enough that he's had 4 years technically to work with this offense at least. The offense is almost regressing. And there's examples of guys who have had less time than Dirk Koetter who are doing phenomenal. So it's really just a matter of give him more time. Well, I mean, it all depends on expectations, and Dirk hadn't met those. So yeah, hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. But until then, goodbye for now, guys.